Hi there everybody, Chris van der Kerk here at Blue Rhino Safaris. It is end of January and we are just back from the 2019 gorilla and chimp adventure up in Uganda, and I thought the best way to give you a bit of an insight into the trip and what makes it special, I would actually just do a slideshow with you. Let me show you the holiday pictures and chat through them, and you'll get a better idea of how things work. So firstly, I did not even take my camera out of the bag on the trip. As a professional tour guide, I do not do photographs on my trips. I believe my guests are paying for the opportunity. It's not my time, so I try not to do pictures, but I do take my cell phone. I keep their family members up to date as to where we are and how we're doing. Everybody's healthy. So I do have pictures on my cell phone, and because of that I can share some pictures with you. So let's first look at the route that we did. We started in Botswana, we traveled up through Zambia and then around to Lake Tanganyika, up with Lake Tanganyika, around Lake Victoria, doing the gorillas, the chimps, up to the Nile River, through Kenya down to the Ngorongoro crater, through Tanzania back down into Malawi, Zambia and back home. Sounds easy, not too difficult to do, and it took about I think 31 days, something like that, to actually get the whole trip done. It's about 10,500 kilometers, so it's not actually that far. Cape Town a few times. But let's start at the beginning. This is crossing the Zambezi. That's a picture of the new bridge. It should be finished 2021 somewhere, which means the ferry crossing will be out of the equation from that point forward. And you pack in very tightly on the ferries, and it's going to be a little bit of a miss when we stop having the ferries in our system. My wife, if you haven't met her, busy discussing all world politics with with my guests. She's probably found a solution to some problems around the world. And then when you travel through Africa, you get weird things. Goat up on the tanker, fresh goat, fresh chicken, those type of things are quite important. There's not a lot of people with fridges and reliable electricity, so generally things are sold fresh. And the fresher you get it, the longer it will last, and you can't get much fresher than a goat on top of a tanker. So we do coffee stops every day. This was just a picture of the convoy in Zambia, where we did a coffee stop in the morning as we were proceeding up towards Lake Tanganyika. Tanganyika, a very nice lake, very, very different than Malawi. Malawi is very developed around the edges. Tanganyika much less, and you have to work to get to the lake itself and work to get away from it again. But the lake is really a spectacular lake, something that you wouldn't really see in Malawi. This is the road that goes into Tanganyika at this specific lodge that we used, and these are some of the views from that road. This is a panoramic, very pretty. The lake itself is absolutely glorious. The vegetation around it is really good, and it's a lot of fun. Life throws you a few curveballs. We had a after dark arrival one night after a border crossing that was just delaying us, and a rainstorm that caught us. And the GPS said 250 meters to go to camp, and we found this truck broken on a bridge, and that was the only way to get into the camp. That was on the main road up alongside Tanganyika, and we could not proceed any further. We had to turn around and find a near camp to sleep for the night. But these things happen. That's me with a torch having a look if I can't get this truck out of the way. But the axle broke and there was nothing I could do. Next morning, I think they removed it about 4 in the morning, so the next day we could proceed with our journey. Christmas Day, this was in Rwanda. Some of the guests, with their permission, thanks guys. This was Christmas lunch, and everybody was looking just to relax for the day. A few of the guys were braaiing, and in Rwanda, very nice day for lunch. We did the Genocide Museum the day before. I didn't put any pictures in on the Genocide Museum. It's something that you have to do in Rwanda. It's one of those important places in the world. One of my guests with a camper traveling around. One of the campsites in Uganda, when we enter into Uganda, you have this lovely volcanic area. If you ever watch Gorillas in the Mist and you have these misty clouds and all of those things, then that's exactly the scenery that you have. So this was our campsite for the night. A nice deck, a bar, and the lake you can see in the background. There's lots of these crater lakes around in Uganda and Rwanda, and it makes for very picturesque places. Then we went for a coffee tour at an organic coffee farm. This is the farmer's son, Ronald, and he gave us the full explanation of coffee. Here you can see the coffee in little bags, the little coffee trees. So they are generating more and more coffee trees for the local farmers to produce more coffee for the export business. A very nice coffee tour that we did. It's all hand done. They hand roast. They do everything by hand on this coffee farm. It's not sprayed with any pesticides or insecticides. It's sprayed only with organic stuff. So this coffee, pure organic coffee. They roast it and then they grind it themselves, and then they make coffee and they let you taste the differences. And Ronald, the son of the farmer, takes you through the whole process and shows you everything that happens out there. Served it with bananas, fresh bananas that they grow there. Absolutely delicious bananas. And we had a very nice coffee tour. The next day on to the Gorillas, and you have to drive a little back road to get to the gorilla campsite. And it gives us these spectacular views of one of the larger crater lakes in the region. This is a panoramic of the same lake. Doesn't look that great, but it's glorious when you actually see it. And then on the day of the Gorillas, you end up in the forest. This is just a picture of the ground. It's muddy, it's soggy, it's everything you think it would be when you're trekking gorillas in a rainforest in Africa. So this video shows you the basic style of walking that you do. Very careful, very slippery, very muddy. You get the walking sticks from the local authorities just to help you to navigate. Here we were going through a riverbed. We had lots of elephant signs, and the guys were very careful of elephants. Elephants in the bush there are a bit aggressive, so you have to be careful of them, but you have a guide with you that does the whole thing. And then you get these weird obstacles and you have to cross. This specific obstacle, crossing the river. The lady with the orange backpack was my porter, and she was helping everybody across. How they hop and skip these rivers are absolutely incredible. You struggle to do it, but they just know what to do and how to do it, where to step. On this crossing, we all had to step in one spot in the river. So when we got to the other side, we all had one wet foot and one dry foot. And it was very strange. Up in the trees, basically where the camera is pointing, that is where we actually found the gorillas. It was another half an hour up, well, half an hour, probably 15 minutes up steep banks to get to the top where we found the gorillas. This was the first one that we saw. She was sitting in a tree, busy feeding. Gorillas are, of course, plant eaters. They do not eat any meat of any sort, no insects, no nothing. They just eat plants, and therefore you always find them in the plants. This is the silverback. There's some footage a bit later. One of the youngsters. They're very cute. When they want to move around going down, it's easier just to let go of everything and they sort of tumble through the leaves. And that's the way they move around. But yeah, you get quite close to the gorillas. This again is the silverback. He's just sitting in front of me behind the leaves. So there's about 8 families that 8 gorilla families that are visited every day. And these 8 families are visited by a maximum of 8 people per day for 1 hour. So you basically walk up to them, and once they find them, then you start with the count of 8 hours. These were 2 youngsters sitting in a tree and just playing around, and at the bottom the silverback was sitting and feeding, just there on the left of the screen. So you walk in, and as you are there, the trekkers and the guides will help you to, or will help you to see better. And what they do is they remove the branches and make a new route for you to get around and take some pictures from this side and then pictures from that side. The silverback is humongous. This thing is as wide as it is high, as it is broad. If it stretches out its arms in the air and it grabs a branch, you realize that that thing has arms like tree trunks. Very powerful. There's one of the guides with us, with his Uganda uniform, and yeah, lovely time, very exciting. Took a selfie of ourselves with the gorillas, and you spend an hour there, just observing. I took a few pictures with my cell phone, but to sit around there and just see them. They are so much like us. The way they scratch their faces, the way they use their fingers in their hands is something that you have to experience to enjoy. And you get very close to them. And they're not very bothered. They have been habitualized, so they are used to humans being there. But if you're sick and if you carry any diseases, then you're supposed to not get close to them at all. The guides will probably stop you and say that you can't get too close because it is just too dangerous for the animals. They can pick up our diseases. But otherwise, you get very close. You don't touch them, but you get very close. And if they decide to push through you, then they will walk past you. Our guide on the right hand side, the lady, she was the guide. The gentlemen up there are the trackers. They go out in the morning and they find the gorillas before you start trekking them, and that means that it's a bit easier for you to actually find them when you get there. Again, our guide, just a picture from the top. You have extreme elevation changes as you go through the whole system. This was a silverback at the bottom, and some of the youngsters playing on the right hand side. You'll see this one on the right. I think this is where he sort of does his roll. There you can see it's just a bit easier going downhill to let go and just drop and roll. Very funny when you see it happening for real. And I think there's one where the silverback is moving. Yeah, this is him walking around. One silverback per family. He's the big male. He's in charge, and he will make sure that everybody stays in place. So really spectacular. The trees and the vegetation that you have there is incredible. This is the African rainforest. It is unreal. If you've never been in one, it is so cool to walk around inside of it. Another selfie with us and the gorilla family in the background. The lady that you see in the center of your screen, the gorilla lady now, she's the oldest one of the family. I think she was 54 years old. And you can't really see her. She's just in the leaves there, but they get very old, the gorillas. The male that you saw, the silverback, I think he was 36 years old. And then everybody's out and dry and get their muscle fitness back, and it's a good time for a braai and a campfire. This was further up when we went up to the chimp walk. In our campsite we had a few of these monkeys around. There's a few species of monkeys in the trees around there. They're not tame, they're not as bad as a problem as in South Africa, but as the vervet monkeys are, but they get very close. So you actually have a nice view of their faces and the hair and how they operate. Then the Nile River, always nice to go there. The Nile that flows out of Lake Victoria. Can do some rafting there, nice food, very nice Nile perch to eat. One of our famous coffee stops. We stop a few times every day. Just find a spot, boil a kettle and have a nice coffee stop. And then my favorite coffee shop in Africa is in Arusha. In Arusha, near the old ShopRite. I go there every year whenever I'm there, and I have one of their sandwiches. Salami, avo and cheese with Americano. The best you can find anywhere. And then on the way back we stop at Ngorongoro crater. Seeing that we're driving past it and the crater is in summer, your views of the crater is much better. In winter when we go there, the crater is fairly brown because of the winter. You can see it looks like a painting behind everybody, but this is the real crater. This is the viewpoint right at the top. So you go down for the day, and a panoramic shot of the crater and the viewpoint. And then in the crater you have these magnificent herds of everything, from wildebeest to buffalo, lions. We saw so many lions this year. It was just more lions than hyena. We rent the lodge's open drive vehicles, so we don't drive in ourselves. So it's really just a chill day, driving around and seeing what's out there. And then finally back through Malawi. I don't have pictures of Malawi, but ultimately back into Kasane in Botswana. And this was our last night where we just everybody was back and just chilling a little bit, having a relaxed afternoon and catching up for Olos before we all break away and go home. And that's it. That is the story of Gorillas. It is a trip that is so full of different aspects. I didn't even show you the chimps. I didn't take any pictures at the chimps this year. But the tour has so many nice aspects. Visiting these countries, they have such a nice history and culture, and the agricultural products, the fruits, the bananas, the avos, the tomatoes, the watermelons, you name it, the stuff that they sell next to the road, you would not find in any of our grocery stores. The quality that you get there, it is absolutely fascinating. So if you ever have the means to do this, I'm doing it in December 2020, and then I will do it again in July 2021. So if you ever have the opportunity to do this, do it. Even if you don't do the gorillas, you would want to, but it's a bit of a tough walk. But you can do the whole journey and skip certain aspects of it. So if you can't walk that well, don't lose out on seeing Rwanda and seeing Uganda. Still visit the countries, but just leave out the gorilla trek itself. You'll sleep at the gorilla lodge. You'll experience the vibe of everybody, but you can stay back and say, no, the walk is just going to be too tough for me, if you feel like that. Everybody in our group this year did it, so there was no problem there. So yeah, if you want to go, give me a call. Don't miss out. It's a great tour. Cheers.